Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we have a contract to put a communications satellite over the moon, and we are specifically going to go for a polar orbit for that. So I'm going to go for a polar launch here, which means that our gravity turn is going to be going down to the north, or I believe that direction, towards those mountains. So that's going to be our target. And we're going to continue getting this message spammed at us all the time. But I'm not going to be gravity turning until quite late again, realistically speaking. This rocket very much likes to tip when we're in the atmosphere, and I don't really want to deal with that. But we've certainly got more than enough delta V to put this thing in a polar orbit over the moon. Now, why a polar orbit, you ask? Because I thought it sounded cool. Realistically, that's all it is. That's all it ever was. I mean, I think a polar orbit is actually better in that situation, right? Because there's more periods of time when a polar orbit would be not occluded by the moon itself. So that's the reason why I'm going for a polar orbit, actually, not just because it sounds cool, which it does. That's not the only reason. What's our apoapsis? Not quite space yet. But I'm going to go ahead and start this gravity turn now. Actually, it's this direction. Okay. Now we're in space. Well, I mean, we're not in space, but our apoapsis is in space. No, 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 no. I want you to be right here at the horizon. Stop waggling. Okay. Let's ditch those, and now we can correct our heading a little bit better. Let's try to hold at the horizon for right now. I'm going to go ahead and ditch the fairing now. I think we're good on the fairing. I'm not going to extend the high gain antenna until we hit space, though. Okay. So, I mean, we're going to have a slight inclination on this orbit, but we can fix that once we get to space. So I'm aiming here for an apoapsis of about 100 kilometers, again, as I often do. We are now in space, but I'm going to keep burning. See how prograde is off a little bit there? I'm going to try to just push it over. By adding a little bit of radial into this burn. Hope to fix our inclination a little bit over this way. And yeah, I know our apoapsis is reasonably high. In fact, it's plenty high. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and let's just add a quick maneuver here. Prograde, sure. And that'll be fine, but I also want to do... this is not the place to do radial burns, realistically. Okay, so this is just going to be prograde. So I'm just going to head to the Actually, I need to head to the maneuver marker, because that's not where the prograde marker is going to be. The maneuver is where the prograde marker is going to be in 6 minutes. Okay, close enough. Let's go ahead and warp to next maneuver. This is only going to be a 6-second burn. There we go. Let's get in a little bit closer. And we burn at T-minus 3 seconds. So, mark. Okay, I'm gonna slow that burn slightly. Okay, good enough. There we go. Now then, I do want to change our inclination a bit. Of course, it's going to be hard to get a Mooner encounter with this inclination. Well, not super hard. It's going to be a little hard. But I'm just going to go right here for right now and experiment a bit with changing our inclination to be a little bit less inclined. Specifically, I want to be up top here. And I want to change it to be basically right here. So let's go ahead and warp to that maneuver. Well, actually, I'm going to just turn first. Okay, I overshot a little bit, but also I was a little low. There we go. And let's go ahead and warp to that maneuver. This will be a 12-second burn. So we're going to want to start this at T-minus 6 seconds. Ten seconds. 5 seconds to burn. Mark. Okay, cutting that burn a little bit early so that I can get it a little more accurate. I want it slightly more accurate. That should be good enough. Okay. Now, can we get a Mooner encounter on the one position that we can actually do this at? That's the question. We actually do. That is pretty lucky. No, I don't. I want to modify the burn. I guess I'll do it here. I want to modify it. Fine. I guess I'll redo it, since the game didn't want me to modify that burn. Okay. That looks suspiciously equatorial. I want it to look suspiciously polar. Okay. I mean, that looks suspiciously polar. I would like it to be a relatively large orbit, though. But I guess as close as possible is going to have to do. Like, somewhere around 100 kilometers? That'll have to do. Okay, let's go ahead and orient. We need to be down this direction. There we go. Where's the warp to next maneuver at? Do I need to be in here? Yes, I do. Okay. And then, of course, we'll be able to fix our altitude and our inclination if we decide we want to. I mean, the inclination actually looks okay here to me. This is going to be a 23-second burn, apparently. Just fixing the orientation ever so slightly. So we're going to want to burn this at, 12 seconds thereabouts? So in about 8 seconds. I mean, we should be burning now, realistically. And let's see what this final burn ends up looking like. Need to be orienting it a little bit, but the rocket is so waggly. Needs like struts or something. Okay, that's very close. Okay, we need to burn this very, very carefully at this point. Okay. I think that's close enough. It's a good inclination, and we can adjust the height once we get there. So realistically, what we want to do is at this periapsis, we want to go ahead and do a retrograde burn until we are just barely in orbit. Which, well, just barely within the sphere of influence, really. Right around 2 million meters. So I'm going to actually bring it down a little bit from there to be right about there. That should work. And we'll go ahead and warp to that maneuver. Get ourselves a million screen messages. Okay, this is a 5-second burn. There we go. Lining up. And we want to do this at T-minus 2 to 3 seconds. Okay, I'm just gonna continue the burn at a slower pace. Try to target this maneuver node a little bit more accurately, if at all possible. So still about 3 more meters per second. 0.4. Okay, that'll have to do. And then at the apoapsis, we're going to go ahead and raise our periapsis to circularize this. About... I mean, I think we're going to need to do a second burn, realistically. We'll get this to about here or so. Yeah, we're going to need to do a second burn to get ourselves exactly where we want to be. But that's close enough. Okay, let's go ahead and orient ourselves for this burn. There we go, and we will now warp to it. This is going to be a 1-second burn. So very, very brief. Did I deploy the communications portion? I did not, the high gain antenna. We'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to want to burn this basically at T. So at T-minus 0 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, I'm just going to Continue to aim at the maneuver node. Try to hit this very accurately, if at all possible. I'm going to go ahead and say close enough. And then at the apoapsis again, I'm going to burn prograde. Up until right about... That should be good enough. So 22.8 more meters per second. Not very many, to be sure. And let's just go ahead and warp to that maneuver, and let's get this over with. Okay. I overshot a little bit, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and just get this basically where I wanted it to be. There we go. Good enough. And there. We now have a polar orbit satellite over the moon. And let's conclude this particular video by finishing our contract. Log the thermometer. Transmit. Excellent. And now there's a million screen messages here until we actually get to our contract. Come on. I wish I could like shift click to delete 10 at a time. As I accidentally throttle up by hitting shift. Well, that's a problem. We need to fix that. Back to retrograde. Okay. Just gonna go until we're in an orbit. There we go. Good enough. Okay, no more shift clicking. I have learned my lesson. Can go ahead and turn SAS off. There's no particular need to hold a particular orientation, but I just want to get to the contract completion. There it is. Get out of here, you thermometer. Excellent. Well, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we will begin our next mission in this particular campaign. Subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time.